Hello and cheers. This is Zach DeBacco from the Drinks with Great Minds in History podcast, and Katie and Nathan wanted me to let you know that they use strong language in their podcast. So if that's not your thing, then this might not be the show for you, and really neither would mine. But if you like a good laugh, great history, and a few cocktails, then you'll sure as hell love this episode of the Queen's Podcast, and might want to go check out my show too. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Katie.
And this is Nathan.
And you're listening to Queens, the podcast about badass women in history.
Katie, how's it going, bitch?
Nathan! It's going pretty good. Happy March. This is our first recording in my birthday month.
Spring has sprung.
Yes. Yes. Nathan, who are we here to talk about today?
OMG.
Tell me.
Queen Amina.
Yes, Queen Amina of Zaria. Before we get started, Nathan, what are we drinking?
So,
this looks like a production.
I Googled Nigerian cocktails.
Okay.
And what came up was the Nigerian Chapman. And I was
Chapman?
like, this chap. So I sat down, researched this recipe, and it's you're gonna hate it, Katie.
Okay.
It's 1 liter of Fanta soda, half a liter of Sprite, however much vodka you want to add, and then like a half a cup of black currant liqueur.
This sounds like a toothache.
Yeah, it is a toothache, but it's kind of delicious.
All the vodka that I want. I'd be like, and 2 bottles of vodka to cancel out all the sugar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. So I knew you would hate it. Instant Katie hate.
You know what? I think I'll take one for the team. I'll just give it a try, twist my arm. Let's see.
Cheers, bitches.
Cheers. Before we get started, what do we got, Nathan?
Patreon shout-outs.
Patreon shout-outs. Hoo-hoo.
Caroline Anne Marie Dainera.
Dainera, if we're saying your name wrong, slide into our DMs and with the correct pronunciation, and you'll get it right next time.
You can slide into my DMs all day.
And also, thank you to our Patreons, Ashley, Vita, Elizabeth, and Taylor. So thank you so much to our patrons at every level and everyone that listens. Cheers, bitches. So let's get started.
So, preface this
shit.
Amina isn't our first queen that we've ever covered that doesn't have great resources.
Yeah.
Not good records,
She's not the first one we've ever covered either that it's not completely proven that she existed. It's giving me Boudica. You know what I mean? A lot of it is legendary. A lot of it is word of mouth. But yeah, some people think that she didn't even exist. Though it does seem that even if she didn't exist, the story is based on someone who did. So,
yeah, and moral of the story is she's a badass.
Yeah. Oh, we will get to how badass she was. I just kind of want to preface that the information is a little all over the place, and it might be a little bit of a shorter episode because of that. But even though the facts are murky, we're going to do our best.
Yes.
So the primary source of her life was written by a leader that was like 150 years after her life called Muhammad Bello. And he lived, like a century or so after Amina. So again, it's giving me kind of like Agrippina vibes or like Cleopatra vibes, these ancient ladies who their stories were written down so separated.
Don't call me by my middle name, ancient lady.
Nathan, ancient lady.
Oh, ouch. That hurt.
We're still young, Nathan. We're still young. So that being said, let's get into it.
Yeah, so she was born maybe around 1533 in maybe Zaria, Nigeria. But just for some reference, 1533 is also the year that Anne Boleyn was queen. So we have some context here.
Just to give you some context about when we're talking about, since we've already told you where. And Zaria, Nigeria is like northwest Nigeria.
So the makeup of Nigeria is a lot different from what we know right now.
Yeah, it was a lot different. There were 7 different states in the Hausa Kingdom, which is where Amina's family is from. And Amina lived in one of the states called Zazao. And like state, we're using kind of...
Can you say that one more time?
Zazao! No, Zazao. I actually had to... I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it because I really tried. I went onto YouTube and like listened to all these different pronunciations, but they change with the different kind of Nigerian accents people had.
So correct us if we're wrong.
So correct us if we're wrong. I did find someone on Twitter that told me, I think phonetically an American would say it like this. So that is what I'm going off. Zazao!
So she was born to a ruling family in Zazao. So we think she was the eldest child, but we really can't tell.
Yeah.
She was also born during the reign of her grandfather. And though the story goes that her grandfather was named Zazao Nohir, nailed it. Amina was his favorite granddaughter, child in general, and would bring her with him to military drills.
Okay.
Basically, she was like his little shadow, went wherever he went. Just, hey, can I meet you up here? Cool.
I love that.
I know. And as a result, she knew, like, when she was growing up at a really young age, she's going to run this shit.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, her grandfather, the king, is already preparing her for... It's reminding me of, like, in Lion King when he was like, all of this will be yours one day. And, but I think that's so interesting that even though she was a girl, he was like, you want to come to military drills with me? And then whenever he saw how interested she was in that, instead of being like, no, honey, you need to work on girl things, he was like, oh, you like the military part? Let's double down on that military shit. Let's do that. No, her grandfather seems to be the one that really took the Zazao state and like brought it into like the powerhouse that it was by this time. This area of West Nigeria was a huge trading nation.
Yeah, they built this city.
Bow, bow.
They built this city on trading gold.
Built this city. And cloth and spices and horses and lots of other things. It was a huge trading port. But her grandfather was like, because it was kind of where they were positioned. It was like if any Europeans were coming in, like wanting to trade with them, they had to like go through Zazao. And her grandfather just really capitalized on that. Like, oh, you think, let me take your money. Let me take your money, honey. You know?
Let me take your money. So cloths, spices, everything was traded through this area.
And this was back in a time, remember, like people were killing themselves to get fucking nutmeg. Like,
I'm going to die on this nutmeg.
I saw this meme recently that was like, we think that people from like the medieval ages would be like so blown away by like our cars and the internet and stuff. But really they would just be like, spice rack, you must be a king. You know?
Yeah, no, it's true. You have black pepper?
What?
So speaking of home life, her dad was named King Nikatau and her mother was Queen Bakwa. We know she had like 2 siblings, a sister named Zaria, not to be confused with Zara.
Like the store?
line?
Yes, not to be confused with the mid-range clothing line Zara. No.
She also had her brother named Karami, and we believe she was a lot older than her siblings.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into.
We'll get into in a little bit. Yeah. Zaria, her sister, like that's what the city is called now, is Zaria, which I found interesting. But again, we'll get into it in a little bit. Something really, really interesting that I couldn't find more on, which is going to be a reoccurring theme in this episode. I found a lot more mentions about her mother, Bakwa, than I did her dad. Bakwa seems to have been the more powerful one in the relationship. Which,
more power to you, bitch.
Love this. Absolutely love that. It doesn't seem like her mom was just a queen consort. It seemed like her mom was either a co-ruler or the main monarch. The mom was not from Zizal. I don't know. We don't know, but from what I could tell, her mom wasn't from Zizal, but she was from such a rich and powerful family, and she brought so many resources and so many men and so many guns to help protect the city that she
men
was
and
just
guns.
Like, oh, edit like it. Gay bar in Texas. Yes. But yeah.
So it's suggested that Mama grew up in this matriarchal society.
Yeah.
Which explains a lot.
It will explain a lot. I love that. I wish I could find more. If anybody listening is like, oh, I have a resource about matriarchal societies in Nigeria or Africa or anything at this time, please send them to me. I would love to do a deeper dive. I just struggled to find resources.
So there's a whole lot that we don't know about her upbringing, like education, relationship with her family.
Except for grandpa, but besides that,
So we do know that she would have been Muslim. Though if religion was like a big part of her life, we really just don't know if it was.
Right. From what I could tell is that Islam came to Nigeria in the 1400s and it spread slowly. So I kind of have a feeling that the Islam that she practiced isn't a whole lot like modern day Islam, because it seems like she may have also still had a bit of the old religions, like more what we'd call like pagan kind of religions as well. And also because she's a woman that's ruling. So I don't know. I really couldn't find like you said, if religion was a part of her life.
We just don't know.
We just don't know.
We have no idea.
Right.
Really, all we do know is that she was really into learning. She was really into battle and combat, which strap on those combat boots, girl.
Little boots. Put on your little boots.
But she's big boots.
Like, she's still a little baby right now. She's still a little baby with little boots.
Fuck these gender norms.
Fuck these gender norms. I'm gonna be a soldier one day. And no one, what I love about it is like, it doesn't seem like anybody discouraged her from it either. Like they were like, yeah, babe, you can be a soldier one day. Cool.
Love this journey for her.
Love it.
So when she was 16 years old, she was named heir apparent.
It was a title called Magajia. That's like what they called, kind of like how you'd call like the Prince in France, the Dauphin, or the Prince in England, the Prince of Wales. Their title for the heir apparent was Magajia.
So probably meant that her granddad died around this time.
Yeah,
so
that probably meant her parents became ruler, and so her
heirs,
granddad.
and so they're passing down names.
Yeah. So bittersweet.
Yeah, we know she was close to her grandfather.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the only things that we really know
about her upbringing. Yeah, was that her and her grandfather were close. And so now that must be so weird because someone you love dies, but because they died, you get more titles and stuff. Like that's one thing about nobility and royalty that I've always thought was so weird. Like
yes.
At the funeral, but also like, but I get this crown now? Okay.
Okay, cool. So at this time, like her brother hadn't been born yet because it was still like typically tradition for sons to be the heir if the daughter was older. So I think Karama must have been like 16 years younger than Amina.
At least,
huge,
yeah.
Huge gap.
That is a huge gap, especially if there's no children that we know of in between the two. So, of course...
Did you go rabbit hole?
Yes, of course I went down a rabbit hole, which led to nothing because that was the theme of this research of like there being like 4 sources and them all kind of stopping at the same place. But I was like, okay, did Amina's father maybe have several wives? Though that wouldn't really track with that it seems Bakwa was the more powerful one in the relationship. But I don't know, did they maybe marry super, super young and they just, you know, so then it wouldn't be so weird that they have one kid so much later?
Direct quote. All the historians said, "Mer."
If you can't see, anytime I make that noise, I'm doing the shruggy face emoji.
So, one cool thing about this society is that it was like, yeah, we prefer men to be in charge because, you know, everyone in history is... One more time.
Everyone is sexist.
She's like holding her microphone, like giving me Mariah Carey finger vibes.
Yes.
And I love it. So, at the same time, they're like, but if a woman like proves herself, she wouldn't necessarily be like barred from holding a place in court or leadership just because she was vagina.
Just because vagina did not, you know, necessarily disqualify you from leadership. Yes.
It's about damn time.
Yes.
So by the time she was a teenager, she was already viewed like, okay, this girl knows her shit. Like, and she's good.
And that shit that she knew was war. She was great at war.
War. Good God, y'all.
What is it good for? Making Amina powerful.
One more time, Katie.
Making Amina powerful. Which also, side note, I don't have this in the notes or anything, but just talking points. If this was a man, we wouldn't be celebrating. We'd be calling him a war dick. Like, let's just be honest. If this was a man, we'd be calling him a war dick. But this is so refreshing that it's a woman that like it's noteworthy and that she, you know, eventually rises through the ranks. So before people come at us being like men's rights, I don't know, like being like, why are you celebrating? Yeah. Why are you celebrating a woman doing this stuff that you would talk shit on a man doing it? It's because so few women were allowed to, really display their talents. Like this would have been at the time such like a celebrated trait in a man. So it's very rare that it was also a celebrated trait in a woman, though we do not condone war, which we will get to
later. So soon after becoming his heir, she was flooded with marriage proposals. Surprise, surprise.
She was a hot commodity on the marriage
you're gonna
market.
Get all this land? Okay, let me marry you.
Yeah, absolutely. She was flooded with gifts daily. Like every prince, every rich guy's son from throughout the area is like coming and like just flooding her with gifts. Just like jewels jewels a la guanza.
So it's worth noting that in Zizao, they did practice slavery, unfortunately.
It was a big status symbol.
I don't like this. They traded cloth, they traded spices, they traded jewelry, like everything that people trade.
But yeah, when she's being flooded with gifts with cloth. Like I read one story that was like she was given 20 bags of white cloth, 20 bags of blue cloth, and 50 enslaved people. And I was like, what is the conversion rate? Like, what? I don't understand. Like, what? But
I don't want to know the conversion rate because people are people.
People are people, and they should not have a value on them. But it was like such a status. Like, if one of her suitors could give her these things, it would be like,
I feel icky.
No, I feel very icky. I don't like it.
But yeah, she was like, basically, why would I marry any of y'all?
Why would, I mean, I'm already heir. Like, I don't need a man.
But like, suitors keep coming. And before long, she's had her own independent wealth. She's got all these gifts from men. And she's hoping that one of them will marry them. Like,
nope. Yeah, they're like, maybe if we just keep throwing gifts at you, you'll marry us, and one of us. And she is just like, she's like, I like it. You can keep giving me gifts. I have no intention of marrying any of you. I don't know if she ever said. I don't know if she was like forthright with them, like, I'm not going to marry you, or if she was just like, hey, you know what? I might come around.
Yeah, right.
But it's she had no intention of marrying any of them at any point.
No, it's like, I'm not saying no, but I'm not saying yes.
I'm not saying no, but I'm also not saying no to more money, please.
So, like we said, she's not interested in men getting married. She's interested in war.
Good God, y'all.
What is that Godfall? So she's still going.
I'm dancing.
So she joined the army, became a general, which I love this for her.
Love it.
A little bit of nepotism at the time because her parents were in charge of everything. So obviously they like hand her the role. But it's not because she wasn't like smart as hell though. Like, she knows what she's doing. She's
been doing it since she was a toddler. She's Caligula Little Boots of Nigeria, basically. She's Big Boots.
Big Boots.
Big Boots. Big Boot
Amina,
energy.
Big Boots.
Amina Big Boots energy. But yeah, so did she get the role because her parents were king and queen? Oh, yes, probably.
Yeah,
but she was still good at it. She wasn't bad at it.
Yeah, right? And while we can imagine some men being like, I'm not going to follow this woman. She's got a uterus.
You never know what those uteruses are going to do.
They're going to float around your brain. So, we don't have it actually documented that something was ever going to happen like that because Amina probably would have had them super killed.
Exactly. If anybody ever spoke up, like, we don't want a woman leading the army, they did not live to write it down. No. So.
I love you, Amina.
She was fierce in battle and all things, basically.
But her parents' rule is actually a time that was known for peace.
Love it.
So the army was a bit more for, like, protection just in case we need it.
Just in case we need to go on the defense. Let's have this army.
But Amina had plans for the future. Like, let's be real. Spoiler alert, it's not peace.
She did not have plans for peace in the future.
No.
So, fast forward. It is 1566, and both of her parents have passed away. Everything I read just said her parents were dead in 1566. So I have no idea if that means one of them outlived the other one. Again, her mother, Bakwa, was so much more prevalent in any story I read about her. So I think perhaps Bakwa ruled on her own for a while. But again, that's just speculation. But anyway, by 1566... both are dead. And
kind of weird, though. We just don't know.
Yeah. And in 1566, Amina would have been about 33, and her parents are gone.
And her brother becomes king.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if she had, like, any animosity towards him, we just don't know.
It's not documented. I don't feel like she did. It kind of seems like she's like, you be king, because whenever you're king, you have to worry about all things. You have to worry about taxation. You have to worry about if your people are happy, and the military and the crops and the trade. And she's like, and if I'm not queen, and I'm just working on the military, I just got to worry about the military. Like, I think she preferred it this way, actually.
Yeah, I think she liked fighting.
Yeah, I think she liked not having any other responsibilities besides this one very niche activity.
Right? So one thing that we kept reading was that her sister Zaria fled, and if I can put air quotes.
Bunny ears.
She fled.
Everything I read said Zaria fled, which doesn't, like whenever her parents died, which doesn't give it it doesn't sound like, you don't say somebody fled when they just like moved and everything was chill. It sounds like almost like what went on there? Like why was she fleeing?
She ran so far
away. But why? Like
she had to get away.
But why? Like, so we know, so Mama had named Zazal, she had renamed the capital Zaria. And so the only thing that I could come up with was, well, maybe the other two siblings resented Zaria. Because like, oh, you must have been Mama's favorite. And now that she's gone, maybe the three of them didn't get along. Like, this is all speculation.
I like this theory, but
okay.
We're not 100% historians here.
I would love to go down a rabbit hole about like why Zaria fled, but I couldn't, so I had to make my own story, and that story is a soap opera.
But if anyone knows about what happened with Zaria, please tell me.
Please let us know. Yeah.
So her brother Karama ruled for 10 years, and by this time, Amina was like head general, whole damn army, like not too shabby, bitch.
Not too shabby at all, no. And she was busy for those 10 years because her brother launched 4 military campaigns. So obviously...
Trois?
Yes.
He speaks French.
Well, he can count to 4 in French, but okay. But no, like... I think it was interesting that it was like, when her mother was in charge, it was a time of peace. And so it was like, why are you building up that army? And Amina's like, mind your business. And so like, as soon as her parents are gone, they go into like military campaigns and start acquiring more land. Fucking shit up. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, hey, let's go get them lands over there. And they're like, okay, let's do that.
Let's go get those lands over there.
Basically, Zazal had grown in strategy. Like, so in the corporate world, we would call this an acquisition plan.
It's growth strategy. It's synergy. We are circling back to this acquisition plan.
Sorry, I got a gag reflex, and it's not the good gag reflex.
Her growth and acquisition plan were to acquire all the other Hassal states.
Yeah. So now, fast forward, and Karama dies.
No idea
what.
It's medieval times, so literally anything. Anything.
Right? It doesn't appear that he fought along with his troops, so not like a battle side assassination.
Yeah.
But just like medieval problems.
Probably just medieval people problems, which means the flu, a paper cut, witchcraft, also.
The plague.
The plague, ear infection.
It doesn't matter.
Lots of things.
He doesn't have kids. He doesn't have heirs. So now we're looking to be like, who's going to be monarch? Oh, wait, there's this beautiful black woman.
Who is a fierce fucking warrior. Amina, you're up. You're queen. And I think that's going to be a good time for us to refill our drinks and take a quick break. How do you feel about that? Yes. All right, we'll be right back, bitches. And we're back.
Yes.
Nathan, did you top off your drink or did you switch drinks?
I switched
To beer?
So
yeah.
I changed to beer. I am a fan of Stella Artois.
Artois.
My favorite. If you know me, you need to buy me Stella.
His birthday is in June. If everyone wants to send us a Stella Artois for his birthday, and go for it.
Mwah,
Anyway,
mwah,
mwah, mwah, Artois. The king is dead. Long live the queen. Yeah, so Amina is now queen. And luckily, we're in a society that isn't anti-female ruler. Like, they're no strangers to matriarchal societies, which I wish I knew one. Like, how nice would that be? Yeah.
I know, right? So there was, like, no opposition to her being queen, though. Right?
I love it. Like, it doesn't seem like the men in her society had fragile dick energy about a woman running shit. And that's just beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
I love it. It's like a non-issue. Like, her having a uterus is like, but...
They're just like, okay, but she's already been running the military for, God, at this point, well over a decade. You know?
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, we trust her. It makes sense. It was a non-issue. Like you said, that's the perfect way to put it, Nathan.
So Amina took the throne at a time when Zizal was just thriving.
They were living their best lives.
Living their best life, like trade routes, everything is going great for them. So she's got money, honey.
Yes.
And she's funding that military, honey, even though
we don't love it, but like we've already given the disclaimer. With a man, we wouldn't love this. With a woman, we do. We all have biases. Just let it be.
Yeah, and she doesn't she seems to be profiting from all of this shit. But,
yeah. Well, she looks at the other Hassal states and she's like, they are also profiting from the trade routes. If all of the states belong to me, I would be getting all those trade like that.
I love this journey for her.
Light bulb. What if all the states did belong to me? What if all the trade routes were mine? Wouldn't it be nice if I owned all y'all?
Money.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be nice if I had money? So she's queen now. In her 40s ish, because back in dicks.
Because we don't know, but ish, yeah.
Yeah. So you think at this point she'd be like, hey, I'm just gonna call ye old shots from my old ye old palace.
Because she's 40 and she's medieval or I guess this is Renaissance, not medieval, but whatever. She's 40 then, not 40 now, where 40 is the new 20. She was 40 then when 40 was 60.
But when military is militarying, she gets FOMO. She gets FOMO, like hardcore.
Yeah. She's like, I need to be with my troops.
Yep.
She wants to be in the room where it happens. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. So she was.
So she was.
So 3 months after being crowned queen, Amina starts a 34-year campaign.
34.
I barely over that age. That's 34 years,
barely.
guys.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Baby.
You're a little baby. I don't wait. Yeah, that's 34 years. And that's just insane. Basically, her first order of business after she gets crowned, she makes this speech and she tells her people, resharpen your weapons. Woo! Like, she has got shit to do.
Yeah, she's like, sharpen your knives.
Let's get to work. Fun fact.
Love it.
Fun fact, one of the things that they traded in Zizal was metalworks. Because they had a lot of like really skilled blacksmiths in Zizal that the other states didn't necessarily have. And so she was the first one in the area to introduce metal armor for her soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And obviously, if you have metal armor and the other people don't, you're going to have a advantage. So I think that's very innovative. There's some argument. Go ahead.
Could she have seen it from like a European person?
Well, there's some argument that there was this other king in Zazal that was like, or not Zazal, there was this other king in Hassa that was like playing around with metal armor, and then she basically just like copy pasted. Or she may have also.
I love this for her.
They both may have seen a European person.
Control V.
Control C, Control V. Put it over here. They also both could have seen a European soldier like coming through their markets, coming through their trade routes for whatever reason, and seen it. But regardless of whose idea it was, she is usually accredited with the one for widespread use of metal armor, which is just so fucking smart. If your whole thing is war, give the people like, protection. Hello, metal. Yes, yes.
So she expanded the military at this point because land, wealth, money, y'all. Really?
Y'all. No, she was owning this big chunk of this trade route, like in the Sahara Desert to and from the, like if you're in the southern part of Africa, you have to go through the Nigerian trade route that she has created to get to the rest of the Sahara Desert, which brings you to like Egypt, which also brings you to like Portugal and shit like that. And she is owning all this land, and it's
one more time.
Chef kiss. Owning.
I love this.
Yes. So I put into Google all the lands that it said that she conquered in Google Maps. So the most northern was this border town called Katsina, and the most southern was a place called Nupe. And one of the articles I read that I've linked to in the show notes call it the middle belt of Nigeria. And that's exactly what it looks like. It's just like this route up the middle of Nigeria to the very, very border, where it's just like she owned all of this route for trading. So like she was making so much money.
Basically, which is genius. Like international trade.
Because I mean, when we talk about Egypt, like they have been trading with other continents from Egypt since ancient times. So for her to open up this route that opened up to all of that trade to this other parts of the world, it's just huge for her people. Yeah. She's not messing around is what we're getting at.
Yeah, right? So one thing Amina did that is like still evident today was she built walls around cities, which is huge. Anytime she conquered her city, she like built a wall around it.
Yeah.
So this served as number one, a sign that this is my
do not touch
now. Yes.
Do not touch.
No touchy. My landy, no touchy.
Mine.
And number two, it was a sign to the people that living in this city now, I'm gonna protect you. Like
I'm keeping other people out. Yeah. So
she called them Ganuar Amina, which translates to Amina's walls.
Yeah. I mean, I'd put my name on it too. I wish I had some Katie walls.
Katie walls.
I love that. These are my walls. These are Amina's walls. She built so many throughout the country that people started to basically go, that's a cool idea, and adopted the practice. And even now, modern day, Amina walls stand still throughout Nigeria and other parts of Africa as well. Amina walls. Yes. I have some pictures here in the show notes. I'll drop them in Instagram and stuff as well. Like that.
So basically for a time, she's kind of like a Roman emperor at the time.
Yeah.
So she's conquering lands. She's letting people live amongst their own.
Like you can have a little bit of autonomy, but you still got to pay taxes to me. You still got to pay fealty to me. It reminds me of like when we talked about like Eleanor of Aquitaine and how Aquitaine was its own place, but they still had to pay taxes to the King of France. kind of like that. And in
so
return,
they had to like even give their soldiers over.
Exactly. Pay me taxes, give me soldiers, and in return, if someone else comes in, I'm gonna fight for you. One very specific story that I read that I just found interesting was it was like one of the city's tributes to her. And I have to imagine this was a big fucking deal if it is, you know, carried on through this many generations of storytellings, is that one king sent her 40 eunuchs and 10,000 cola nuts. And all I could think was...
the eunuchs had their cola nuts cut off.
Oh!
So that's where they got the cola nuts.
All I could think
Poor
of
eunuchs,
is...
no balls. That must suck.
I wish I knew the dollar to eunuchs conversion rate. Like, what?
Dollar to balls. What's the ratio here?
Like, all I'm imagining is like, here's 40 eunuchs and just being like, thanks. And also, the person that had this
5 eunuchs.
The person that had to sit down and count 10,000 nuts. Like,
I have so many jokes right now. Nuts on nuts on nuts.
Anyway, no, I just thought that was such an interesting story. Like, since it was like obviously a notable transaction, I was like, is that good? Like, is that a lot of eunuchs? I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if
how many nuts is too many nuts.
How many? Like, why do you need? Anyway, let's move on.
So we've talked about battle and money and walls.
Oh my!
So okay, Dorothy. So let's talk about her love life.
Okay.
Hello.
All right.
Like, she had no interest in having a husband, but, you know, these pipes gotta get cleaned every now and then.
What did you just... What? These pipes gotta get cleaned?
Sometimes you gotta just clean these pipes.
Is that a thing people say about...
No, it's
sex?
not.
What?
It's not. It's a Nathan saying.
I was
very
like,
sorry.
What did I miss?
Apologize. I apologize.
Oh my God, Nathan.
That was great. Brilliant.
Nathan. But no, I mean, she's got needs. These pipes gotta get cleaned.
Obviously, I have needs. Wow.
So the story goes, the legend is, Nathan, do you want to take this legend or do you want me to tell the legend?
So the legend is that they would conquer some people and she'd be like, well, I'll take one of you as my husband. Like, conquer your shit. I'll marry you.
Yeah.
I mean, same. And she's like, marry me right here.
Right now. Yeah.
And then the two would spend like this passionate love night, fucking all night together. And
Maybe.
Then the next
I don't
morning,
know, like what if she picked a guy that was like a dud? Like, okay,
Yeah.
you're gonna be my husband, and then like he ends up just being like, well, this has never happened to me
fragile dick
before.
energy.
You know, and it's just like, yeah. Anyway.
So if that happened, she would just obviously have them executed.
Well, either way, she would have them executed.
She's like a praying mantis, right?
What we're getting at is she would be like, you're my husband for the night, and then the next morning she would execute that person. She would have them
I love this journey for her, and I don't want to.
I call bullshit on this. I get that it adds like just like a level of like, she did what now to her story, but it just makes me feel like somebody along the way had to add a level of sex to it that wasn't necessarily there. Like I don't love the femme fatale trope, and it feels like that's what someone was just adding.
Yeah,
in.
like super badass that she has that like femme fatale sort of thing, but not really what I think she was about.
Well, I mean, if she wanted to take lovers, she would have just taken lovers without having to kill them the next day. Like let's look at Catherine the Great, a woman who was never officially remarried, but had plenty of lovers. when you're a woman in power, no one's gonna call you out for hooking up. And so I don't love this story of her marrying a man, sleeping with him, killing him the next day, because it just seems... I
kind of love it.
Okay, we can agree to disagree. Yeah.
Disagree. Like, I kind of love
But this also wasn't in... Like we were saying earlier, there's the oral tradition, but then there was, like, that one guy of 100 like or so years...
Vibes.
Yeah,
Boudica
like
vibes. Somebody
actually wrote down her story, that Bello guy that lived a couple of, like 150 years after her. And in his story, in his retelling of her, there's nothing about the Black Widow spider vibes here. It's just about her conquest. And so somebody, in my opinion, added on this, the sexy murdery part of it later.
I love this sexy murdery.
I honestly just think it's kind of sexist. Like, she couldn't just be... Totally. Yeah, that's why they've added
to murder people.
She had to. People. She couldn't just fuck a guy if she wanted to fuck a guy. She had to murder them to make it.
She absolutely could. And she could murder him if she wanted to, because she's powerful and wonderful.
But who knows? That is part of her story. I kind of wanted to leave it out, but a lot of people find it interesting. So that is part of her legend.
Yeah. So she spent like 34 years of her reign fighting on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. And we don't exactly know how she died, but we do know that she lived a long life. Mm-hmm. In the 16th century.
For someone in the 15th century or 16th century, yeah, that was a really long life.
35.
Well, no, she would have been in her 70s.
So there's a lot of debate on where she died, but none of the arguments say that she actually died in Zaria. Leads me to think that she would have been just like riding out with her army, fighting battles.
She was literally ride or die. Yes.
I love this for her.
Because she was consistent. Yes. She was so consistent. Absolutely. Consistently fighting, consistently getting more money, consistently extending her power. Yes. Like we said, in her death, we don't really know what happened. And then after her death, it's also incredibly blurry. Like, some say Zaria came back to be queen, but it appears that after the rule of Amina, female authority took a nosedive. Like, they're
lame.
I know.
Lame.
Do not love that journey for humanhood.
Pussy needs to hold the power.
Pussy needs to hold the power. Yeah. Oh my God. Where'd you get that from? Did you just come up with that? We need to put it on some merch.
Up with that.
We gotta put it on some merch.
Magic.
Pussy needs to hold
Pussy
the power.
Holds the power. Genius. I don't know where I come up with this.
So many. Well, I'm gonna check and make sure someone else didn't say it first before putting it on some merch, but I love it. Love
Pussy holds the power.
Needs to. Does.
It does.
So after her reign, it seems female leadership really took a nosedive in Nigeria.
I don't like this.
Which is lame, but welcome to history class. This is what happens.
Wah.
Being a woman kind of sucks all the time in history. However,
but her legacy is huge. Like,
huge.
She set up trade routes that benefited Zazal for like years and years.
Yes and yes.
We still got Amina walls all over the place. Like, she is doing some good shit.
Yeah, she left her mark. And that's why a lot of people are like, no, this was definitely a person that existed. We've got these walls. We've got these obvious signs. Zazal would, in the 1800s, be conquered. And then Nigeria later would be conquered by the British altogether.
Surprise, surprise. The UK just got to put their nose in everybody's business.
Yeah, that was kind of like the British Empire's thing. Like,
let me just
scooch on in here. Let me just scooch on in here. Hey. But I believe it was the British that renamed the town Zaria again, which is actually I think that's a very pretty name. I wonder if the mom just named it Zaria because it was a pretty name. So let's talk a little bit about her legacy in modern day Nigeria is still obvious. She is just a huge cultural
icon.
Legendary. Yes, legend.
Hello. Finally.
There is a really badass statue that stands of her outside of the Nigerian National Arts Theater, which we'll post on Instagram, but I've put it here in the show notes. What a badass statue. Look at that, Nathan. Describe it to us.
So she's on a horse, and she very, very proud about it.
Yeah.
She's even got a wand.
It's a sword, Nathan? Did you say wand? Do you think she was at Hogwarts, Nathan?
Yes, absolutely. Ravenclaw all the way.
She is on a horse with a sword mid-battle, not a wand.
It looks like a wand.
Anyway.
She's on a horse with a sword. She's about to kill some bitches.
I would love to see this statue in real life because I can't really zoom in enough, but it looks like she is it just looks like the depiction of a fierce fucking woman in the depths of battle, and I love it because we don't get that in history a lot of times. So
I agree. So let's cheers.
Let's raise a glass.
Badass.
Yes.
Queen Amina. Cheers,
I love
bitch.
her. Oh my God. Love her. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Cheers, bitches.
Hope we weren't too trashy.